the closing panel of the day. I was the closing speaker on the closing panel, so at a point where everyone was completely knackered and probably didn't want to hear anything more about trust, so I talked about trust. But I said we had to think differently. We have to think differently about trust, we have to think differently about leadership, we have to think differently about risk, and we have to think differently about compliance. And part of the problem is that people still think within the status quo, and yet the status quo has clearly failed us. I'm not so much sure that trust is under threat, but trust has become just another meaningless term. It's exhausted, it's been overused and exploited by business leaders and by politicians who keep on asking for more trust. And some of them were never even trusted in the first place. So we never really trusted politicians, we certainly didn't trust estate agents, we weren't that keen on lawyers or bankers, and even a repentant spinner like myself. PR people were never trusted either. So I'm not sure that this search for more trust is in any way meaningful. What I've been looking at is models of trustworthiness, and trustworthiness is personal and it's reciprocal, and it's built on different principles, of which two of the most important are vulnerability and dissent. Making yourself vulnerable as a leader, sort of making yourself vulnerable and open so that you can listen to dissenting views, you can experience and share disagreements, but you can do so in a productive, generative way, not trying to always impose some sort of corporate bureaucracy or corporate solution and then hope to be trusted. And at heart, trust is not a message, trust is an outcome. It's deeply behavioural, it's what you do, not what you say that counts, but too often people just sort of use it in some sort of bullshit term and use it as exactly that, a message. We have to stop using trust as a message. We have to recognise trust as an outcome. Secondly, we have to ask ourselves, is it trust we should be looking for, or is it trustworthiness? That trustworthiness is personal, it's reciprocal, it's based on honesty, competence, and reliability. These are three very simple things to look for. And then we have to start thinking about the bigger societal picture in which we operate. I said on stage that people and planet are more important than profit, and I genuinely think they are. We have to put human potential first at the forefront of our minds and our thinking. And we have to think in terms of common good, the enduring values of what is just, what is right, what is fair, what is good. This is not complicated. If we can do the right thing, then more trustworthiness or more trust will emerge. First, trust is not a message, trust is an outcome. Second, that the current crisis of trust is really a crisis of leadership. So we have to address issues of leadership. And in my talk, I said that I felt that leaders had to stand naked to make themselves accountable and vulnerable to their employees, to their customers, to their stakeholders, to their regulators. And third, that vulnerability is fine, dissent is fine. We have to rail against all the conventions of the past 30, 40, 50 years, business orthodoxy that says that you have to do what is lawful. Of course you have to do what is lawful, but more importantly, you have to do what is right. Future talent means somehow managing to bequeath to the next generation a less messed up world than the one we currently occupy. I think we live in times of great danger and great fragility, and I know a lot is said of that. But in everything from the fight for truth and trying to oppose fake news through to the need to reconnect society, broken bits of society, not just in the UK but globally as well. We have to find a way to heal some of these divisions, and we won't heal if we don't understand that the future is there to be negotiated across a whole range of people and not imposed from a small elite.